A film archivist suddenly senses something is wrong inside his own home. First, he starts hearing strange noises at night. Next, he's seeing shadows in the dark. But then, it gets worse. His wife starts acting distant, and he discovers old footage tied to his house, revealing something violent that happened there years ago. The more he watches, the more obsessed he becomes with it. And it's because this past isn't just history. It's repeating itself. And the deeper he digs to get to the truth, the more it feels like the real danger isn't the ghost in the house, but what it's turning him into. This whole nightmare begins with a newly married couple checking out prospective homes in the city, and they eventually pick an old bungalow that is over 100 years old. As they step inside, the wife, Claire, asks her husband, David, if he would like to look around with her. He declines and asks her to go forward. Standing in the yard, he suddenly notices a shadow-like figure passing in front of him. He walks toward the backyard and spots a manhole, slightly open. 5 years later, the couple now have a young son named Billy. One morning, David is walking Billy to school, and they pass by a public toilet along the way. Billy turns to his father and says that his friend told him that a ghost lives in the toilet. When they look inside, the walls are covered in strange drawings and writings. Billy throws a stone to try and get the ghost to come out. After dropping Billy off, David heads to his office. He works as a film censor officer and is assigned to review a film from 1902. At first, the footage seems ordinary, but it becomes more disturbing. It shows a man murdering his wife, and David recognizes his street and soon after his house, where the murder took place. He is shaken up. That evening, he comes home and tells Alice what he had seen. She's shaken, but David shrugs it off. He tells her that there is nothing to worry about. Later on, the couple have an office party to attend. They call the babysitter, Sophie, to come and look after Billy while they are out. At the party, David notices his wife getting a little too close to a long-haired coworker named Alex. Alice catches the look on David's face and quickly says it is just an office client and pulls him onto the dance floor. The next day, David can't shake off the feeling from what he had seen the previous day. He tells Alice not to stay out too late, and she promises. He sits for hours at a cafe near Alice's office, watching. By evening, he sees Alice walk into a building with Alex. Right at that moment, his phone rings. It is the school calling to say he had forgotten to pick up Billy. He went to pick up Billy and took him home. He feeds him and puts him to sleep, and Alice still has not returned. He goes back to that same building. He finds Alice and Alex in a very intimate moment, but they don't see him. In a burst of rage, David grabs a nearby hammer, but as he steps outside into the night air, something stops him. He throws the hammer away and stumbles into a public restroom where his son had claimed ghosts live in. He falls apart completely, doubled over and sick. While he is inside, a pair of black shoes appears at the door. Someone stands there for a long moment. David feels a strange presence and drags himself out. His vision goes blurry, and in that haze, he sees Alice standing at the edge of the canal while a figure dressed in black pushes her into it. He can hear her voice crying for help. He passes out. After a while, he wakes up and he goes home. On getting home, Billy is still asleep, but Alice has not come back. He tries calling her, nothing. The next morning, he goes to the police and files a missing persons report. He tells them she had left for work, that she had mentioned working overtime, and that there had been no argument between them. He says nothing about following her the night before. Back home, he is sitting with Billy when he caught a shadow moving in the mirror. He spun around, but the room was empty. Not long after, the police called him back with news. A man had walked into the station and confessed to being Alice's boyfriend, saying their relationship had been going on for over a year. The investigator throws out a careless remark, asking David if he was the one who had killed her. David snaps back angrily and tells him to direct that question to Alex. The investigator is suspicious of David. Then the canal gives something up. Alice's body is pulled from the water nearby. The forensic report comes back suggesting she had drowned, and that it appears to be an accident. They also find out that Alice had been pregnant. At the funeral, Alice's mother asks if David wants her to take Billy for a while. Now, David refuses and says he wants Billy with him. After the funeral, David tells his colleague Claire the truth he had been holding back. He admits that he had seen Alice with Alex that night, that he could have confronted them both, but instead he had turned and walked away. Claire tells him he should have gone to the police with everything. David said he was afraid. If he told them he had followed his wife and witnessed her with another man, they would stop looking for anyone else. They would assume he killed her. After that conversation, his behavior begins to shift in ways that are hard to ignore. He starts placing a camera outside the bathroom every day to record whatever might pass by at night. He also goes digging into the history of the bungalow, and what he finds stops him cold. Decades ago, a man had killed his wife inside that very house after discovering she had been unfaithful, and the face of that old murderer, the one in the archived photographs, was the same face David had seen standing outside the restroom that night. David can't make sense of it. He borrows a camera from his office and begins recording every corner of the house. When he plays back the first test footage from the bathroom, a shadow appears in the frame that had not been visible when he was filming. He goes room by room after that. The living room, the bedroom, the balcony, the hallway, and in every single clip, the same dark shape keeps appearing and disappearing. That night, strange sounds start coming from inside the walls. Terrified, he calls Sophie, the babysitter who now lives with them since Alice died. He asks her if she can hear it. She says she cannot hear a thing. Billy wanders out of his bedroom, so David sends Sophie to put him to sleep while he grabs an object and begins knocking into the wall. He finds nothing inside. He sits down on the stairs afterward, exhausted and confused. Then another sound comes from outside. He goes to the backyard and finds the manhole cover open. He pushes it back into place, and when he turns around, a figure is staring at him from Billy's bedroom window. He runs inside and throws open the door. Billy and Sophie are both perfectly fine, sitting there unaware. He tells them both that they are leaving, books a hotel for them, and sends them on their way. That same night, he calls Claire over and shows her the recording. In the footage, the same shadowy man is visible, the one from that night by the canal, and his face is identical to the murderer from the 100-year-old case. David tells Claire he saw that same face in the restroom. Claire laughs it off and tells him he has clearly lost his mind, that things like this do not happen in real life. She leaves, but David is no longer doubting himself. Later that evening, he starts a video call with Billy, who is still at the hotel with Sophie. While they are talking, a shadow moves across the screen behind his son. David asks Billy if Sophie is back in the room with him. David tells Billy to turn the camera around and show him what is there. What he sees makes him drop everything. He runs straight to where Billy is staying and pounds on the door. When Sophie opens the door, the room is completely ordinary. He picks Billy up and brings him home anyway. Sophie is now genuinely alarmed. She tells David that she cannot work with him anymore and is only staying because of the child, and that if he knows something, he needs to tell her. David tells her that she should leave the next morning. That same night, he wakes Sophie up at midnight and locks both her and Billy in the storeroom. Whatever he is sensing, he feels it is safer to have them contained. The next morning, while dropping Billy at school, David sees a woman crouching in the bushes across the canal. He asks Billy if he sees anything. Billy says no. When David looks again, she is gone. He goes back the following day with a camera. Strange sounds come from the bushes, and the same woman emerges, moving slowly toward him. He tells Billy to run and hide. He shuts his eyes, and when he opens them, she has vanished. He returns the camera to the office and crosses paths with Claire. She takes one look at him and says, something is very wrong. She tells him to look for a bereavement therapist. When he gets home, he and Billy scatter flour on the floor near the front door so that if anything invisible comes through, he would be able to see its footprints. That night, he falls asleep and dreams of the man from the old murder case again. He wakes up abruptly and reaches for his glass of water. It is gone. Then comes a knock at the door. The police. They tell him a hammer had been pulled from the canal and it carries his fingerprints. They ask him what he has to say about it, pointing out that it was the same hammer that had gone missing the night Alice disappeared. David tells them about the house. He tells them a murder had happened there a century ago, that a man had killed his wife over betrayal, and that he believes the same spirit has killed Alice. He says he has video proof. The police dismiss everything he says and take him to the station. They are convinced he is faking mental illness to escape consequences, and they announce that for Billy's safety, the boy would be placed in a children's home, or whether David would face charges depends on the outcome of a mental evaluation. When he returns home, he goes back to the section of wall he had broken open earlier and finds a bag tucked inside containing old photographs. The instant he pulls it out, sounds start up again in the backyard. He follows the noise and finds strange footprints in the ground, leading straight toward the drain. He follows them to the sewer and finds a second bag. Inside, it is the body of a newborn baby. He drops the bag and runs. Back inside the house, he calls Claire and tells her he needs her to watch the recording. "This is the truth," he says. But before he can play anything, Claire tells him he had called her the night before, crying, saying he wanted to confess what really happened to Alice. She tells him that if he killed his wife, she will go to the police with him, but that she believes everything he is experiencing is a breakdown, a delusion his mind has constructed to cope. She urges him to let the past go and start over. David stays quiet. He tells her to just watch the video first. When the footage plays, a shadow in the shape of a woman appears on screen, drifting slowly toward the camera. Then the figure bursts out from the wall and seizes Claire, pulling her away. David grabs Billy and runs for the door. The police are already standing outside. They have heard a woman scream and assume David has harmed Claire. David bolts into the sewer with his son, the police following close behind him. As he runs, the truth comes crashing back in full. Claire sees nothing in that video. David strangles her with his own hands. And it is David who kills Alice, too. That night by the canal, during a heated argument, he pushes her into the water. The visions, the shadow figures, the spirit, all of it is his own mind trying to bury what he has done. Still running, he sees Alice's ghost standing ahead of him in the dark. Panicking and with nowhere left to go, he grabs Billy in his arms and jumps into the water. As they sink, something pulls at David from below, but in those last moments, he pushes Billy upward toward the surface. The police pull the boy out in time. David's body remains in the water. Some time later, Billy's grandmother comes and collects him. The family decides to put the house up for sale. As they are heading out to the car, Billy stops and tells his grandmother he has forgotten his toy inside. He goes back in and moves toward the wall. There is a crack running through it, and behind that crack, David is peering out. He talks to Billy and tells him that he is inside the wall with Alice and asks if Billy wants to be there with them forever. And Billy says yes. His grandmother gets him into the car and they set off. But on the road, Billy suddenly unbuckles his seatbelt and opens the car door. In the next moment, Billy is back inside the old house. He closes the front door behind him. The caretaker standing nearby sees him and smiles, a slow and unsettling smile staring at the door long after it is shut. In the end, David was never actually being haunted. All those shadow figures, the visions, the sense that evil was living in that house, none of it was real. It was all coming from inside David himself. His mind was so desperate to save himself from the guilt of his actions. David killed Alice. When he followed her that night and saw her with Alex, he lost his mind. The argument ended with him pushing her into the canal. After that, he spent the rest of his life convincing himself and trying to convince others that a ghost was responsible. When Claire got too close to the truth, he killed her too. He strangled her, and then his mind could not stand the memory of it. The most chilling event is when Billy walks back into the house alone. The door closes, and the caretaker smiles in a creepy way. This final moment hints at the dark nature of the house, planting doubt of whether everything David went through was truly a figment of his guilt. That's it for today's story, guys. But before you leave, I gotta ask, do you think the house was really haunted or was David just seeing things out of guilt? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more twisted stories like this.